oh man, like, you're a neo-lib, sellout, careerist. Like, but I mean, if I were here to sell out, I'd be making, there are much more profitable and peaceful ways. I assure you. But and it's not to say that like the concerns are bad or without fault and whatever, you know, it may be. I'm not here to dismiss people. I'm not here to tell people that they're wrong. I'm not here to say that their points are invalid. I am here to say that, like, we need to look at what date it is and what time it is. And also, like, again, I also think that there's certain things about Joe Biden that, again, I'm not here to dismiss people's concerns, but I also think there are certain things about Joe Biden as a candidate and as a person that people often conflate with other issues. For example, he had the debate that he had. That debate had no people.
Okay, so as you guys just saw there, AOC is responding to being called the neoliberal sellout. This is really interesting. I wanted to comment on this video. I thought it was super fascinating. So she's basically responding to this allegation. Surprisingly, she's not really responding to it with a lot of vigor that you would expect. Like if she were truly outraged or really against the comment, it doesn't really seem to be present there where it's like, yo, F you! You know, like that doesn't seem to exist. So I think she kind of knows that like fudge, like there's some truth to it. So I think there definitely is some truth to it for all of the squad members, and just that obviously like sort of the rebels that they came into Washington as, I think was an untenable position if they wanted to do anything productive. I don't think that they would have been able to get anything done. They aren't even really in a position where like the Tea Party is in the Republican Party. Obviously, the Tea Party has tons of money behind it, but also they have way more members. I don't know what the current numbers are of the Freedom Caucus, but I think usually it's around 30. That's a big block. But when you have like 5 or 7 or whatever in the House, like that's really weak. That's very small, even though the margin in the House is very small. But I think that she kind of knows a little bit of like what people are talking about, so that's why I think she's not responding to it that crazy. Now, are there other ways for her to, sell out? Definitely. She could be making way more money. The weird thing about Pelosi is like she's somehow doing both. Usually you have to choose between the two. Usually you can't be an elected official and get rich. You usually have to choose between the two. So typically what happens is someone is a representative or whatever, they go up in the ranks or whatever. You're not making that much money as a congressman. You get paid dog shit, which I actually think is stupid. This is actually, I guess, a controversial opinion. I think that if we pay public servants more, like pay them a lot of money, like a lot, it's better because who are they beholden to? They're beholden to you instead of the people who have the money who are going to give it to them. But I'll be like, nah, fuck that. And then they'll be talking about people who are like really wealthy, and I'm like, dude, are you serious? You think like a couple $100K or something is gonna sway somebody worth 100, 400 million? But oh, greed knows no bounds, bro. It's like you're a fucking idiot, dude. But anyways, I don't know why I just went on that tangent, but so I need to recollect myself here. But yeah, oh yeah, so you can, after you make those garbage wages, you're paying 2 extremely expensive residencies. Usually you become a lobbyist for some corporation, or not corporation, some like advocacy business or whatever, like marijuana, and then you get paid a bunch of money. That's typically the process. Nancy Pelosi somehow managed to do both. She's somehow getting rich and is super powerful, like in Congress. It's truly remarkable. I mean, slay queen, you've managed to be like the most like, corrupt person ever, dude. Shout out to you, man. Big time, shout out feminism and everything. Big ups. But she definitely could be way richer for sure. But I think that that's not what people mean when they say sellout. I think she might be purposefully sort of misinterpreting the sellout quote. The sellout allegation is not that, hey, you sold out monetarily. I think the sellout is like, hey, you sold out for power and influence and all of that kind of stuff, which I think is true. I think she did concede, and she did be like, all right, let me relax a bit, let me take the foot off the gas pedal here in terms of pressure. I'm not fit to roll up to Pelosi's office and protest in the office, right? And then up for the Green New Deal and everything. I'm not gonna do that. And she did that in exchange for. So if you guys don't know where, I think a lot of people don't know where power in Congress comes from. Power in Congress doesn't really come from being a member. It comes from being on committees. Committees are where things start and where they go to actually be able to survive where they start. And so by the time they get to the House floor, they've been through a bunch of committees and all that stuff already. And so usually you have to pass if a bill is to come up, usually it has to go through whatever committee relevant to it, whether it be like taxes or whatever. So, but in order to get on committees, you need seniority, and obviously you need people to vote for you in Congress, right? So to get power and influence, you need to do that. Now, with that being said, I think she made the right move in terms of like, it sounds kind of paradoxical or sort of oxymoronic, but in order to advocate and further progressive goals as much as humanly possible, the way to do that is to consolidate as much power in government as you can. It's like Bernie Sanders in a pretty, solid position because he has seniority in the party as a senator. I can't remember if he's like the chair of the budget committee or what it was that he's actually the exact chair of. But that is the way to actually have power to wield. And so again, it might sound kind of like paradoxical, or I don't know if that would be the right word, or oxymoronic, or what the word would be, but you're kind of conceding on your sort of progressivism in order to also get progressivism through and passed. So I think also the long game I think is important, where I think at some point we have to have a turn where the boomers start to leave the voting base, and so the voting base starts to get more progressive because the times are changing. So typically as people get older, they become less progressive, less liberal. But I think that's because they start to get richer, they get homes, they get more ensconced and everything. They become more socially conservative. Now millennials have not switched for the first time, I think, in U.S. history. So, and that's because millennials don't have anything to be ensconced in or anything. They don't have any money, no homes, nothing, right? They have nothing. So that should indicate to us that, hey, like the future should be progressive. And so I think she's trying to play the long game in terms of like, hey, do I want to be like this sole rebel that everybody hates, or do I want to kind of like be able to cultivate power in the party in order to get progressive gains? And I think that that's the right situation. I think also positioning yourself long term, again, I just think just solely based on efficacy grounds, I think is just the best way. And I think a lot of people struggle with politics because they look at it as this sort of purity mechanism, and really it's just a game. Politics is a game. That's what it is. And so what methods and means you take, I think, or people might say this is sort of stuff outside of the game, right, where you're compromising your own personal progressive ideals. But ultimately politics is just a game, and you have to play the game to get whatever you want advanced. So for example, if you want Medicare for all, the way that you do it with politics might be, okay, I might have to concede on this other progressive issue, maybe like free college I have to give up, or I can't be as much of a rebel protesting in order to get Medicare for all, or maybe it's not going to be now, but in the future, and I need to consolidate power for progressives in that meantime, right? Because there's no way it's going to get passed. And you would be like, no, you need to demand it right now. And I think just on efficacy grounds, I think that the former is the better strategy. I don't think purity tests really have any place in politics, because politics is a game ultimately, and you need to view it that way. And the importance of the issues being in power is just how important the game is. Because I think when a lot of people hear that it's a game, they're kind of like, oh, well then fuck politics. It's like, how can you say that? The game you play is how you get those things passed. So because of that, you really have to be worried about, the game and how it's played, right? But so I think she kind of knows it's kind of true. I think that's also why she interpreted it as a monetary aspect, as opposed to like, hey, like that's what they mean really is, yo, like you are somebody who kind of gave up on a lot of the progressive hardline stances. And I think she knows that largely they're right. I think she knows that. And I think that's why she's not responding so angrily, because otherwise I think usually you would kind of respond to like some really strong anger, but it doesn't really look like she's doing that. But let me know your thoughts down below.